I have lived alone for a very long time. But one day, something I never imagined entered my life. I became stronger than I had ever been in my youth.
For almost 20 years, Elias lived completely alone. High in the mountains, far from the noise of cities, far from the expectations of the world. At 90 years old, he believed life had already given him everything it was meant to give, and taken everything it needed to take. His days were simple, predictable, quiet. Each morning, he woke before sunrise, when the sky was still pale and the air carried the sharp freshness of the mountains. He lit the small fire inside his wooden cabin, slowly warming the cold room. He boiled water from the mountain spring and prepared a simple breakfast. Bread, vegetables, sometimes cheese he made himself. Behind the cabin, a small garden grew carefully between stones and soil that had been shaped by time. Potatoes, carrots, cabbage. He planted only what he needed, nothing more. Life had taught him that wanting less often brought more peace. His hands were no longer strong, but they were steady. He moved slowly, but every movement had purpose. He repaired broken fences carefully. He carried small pieces of firewood each afternoon. He listened to the wind moving gently through the valley. Some might call his life lonely, but Elias no longer feared silence. Silence had become his companion. In silence, there were no goodbyes, no disappointments, no expectations he could fail. He did not wait for visitors. No one came this far into the mountains. The narrow road leading to his cabin had nearly disappeared after years of snow and rain. He had chosen this life, or perhaps life had chosen it for him. One late afternoon in early autumn, Elias walked toward the river as he often did. The river had always calmed him. Its steady movement reminded him that time never truly stopped. The air felt slightly colder that day. Clouds gathered slowly above distant peaks. As Elias reached the bend in the river, something unusual disturbed the quiet. A sound, sharp, desperate, a voice carried by the rushing water. "Help!" Elias froze. For a moment, he wondered if the mountains were playing tricks on his hearing. It had been years since he heard another human voice this close. Then the cry came again. "Please help!" Elias moved toward the sound with urgency he had not felt in many years. His heart beat faster, stronger. Near the center of the river, a young woman struggled violently against the powerful current. Her hands tried desperately to grasp the slippery rocks along the edge. The water was fast, cold, relentless. Without hesitation, Elias stepped into the freezing river. The cold struck his body like sharp needles. His legs trembled, but he continued forward carefully, holding onto a long branch to keep balance. "Take my hand," he called. The woman reached for him, panic in her eyes. For a terrifying moment, the current pulled her downward. But Elias stepped deeper, ignoring the icy pain rising through his bones. Finally, her fingers locked around his arm. Her grip was desperate, her strength fading. Slowly, step by step, Elias guided her toward the shallower edge of the river. Each movement required careful balance. One mistake could pull them both under. But determination can sometimes give strength even to an old body. After several long moments, they reached the shore. The woman collapsed on the grass, coughing and shaking uncontrollably. Elias wrapped his coat around her shoulders. "You are safe now," he said softly. She struggled to speak. "My car, the road above, it broke. I slipped. The river pulled me down. Her name was Mira, 32 years old. She had been traveling alone through the mountains, searching for quiet places to photograph. She never expected the mountains would nearly take her life. Elias helped her walk slowly back to his cabin. Inside, the fire warmed the air. Dry blankets, warm tea, simple vegetable soup. Myra's hands trembled as warmth slowly returned to her body. She looked around the small cabin, surprised by the simplicity of everything. "You live here alone?" she asked softly. "Yes," Elias replied, "for a very long time." "Why?" Elias paused before answering. "Because sometimes silence hurts less than memories." Mira stayed for several days. The road above the river had been damaged by rain and fallen rocks. Travel was not possible immediately. During those days, Mira slowly observed Elias' life. She watched him wake before sunrise, watched him move carefully through small daily tasks, watched him tend the small garden behind the cabin, watched how he spoke very little but seemed to understand everything around him. For the first time in years, Elias noticed another presence inside the cabin, another breathing rhythm, another voice speaking softly across the table. Something in the silence began to change. Mira offered to help with small things, carrying vegetables, cleaning the wooden table, preparing simple meals together. Conversations grew slowly, naturally, without pressure, without expectation. One evening, as golden sunlight covered the mountains, Mira asked, "Do you ever regret living alone?" Elias looked toward the distant horizon. "I did not choose to be alone," he said quietly, "but after losing everyone, silence became easier than starting again." Mira did not try to answer with comfort. Instead, she simply sat beside him. Sometimes presence is stronger than words. Days turned into weeks. The cabin felt warmer, not because the fire burned stronger, but because the silence no longer felt empty. One morning, Mira stood beside Elias near the river where they first met. "The river almost took my life," she said softly, "but instead, it brought me to you." Elias gave a small smile. "At 90 years old, I believed my story was already finished." Mira looked at him gently. "Some stories begin when we least expect them." The years they shared were not about youth, not about time, but about meaning. Two souls who had once felt lost, finding calm in each other's presence. High above the world, in a small cabin hidden among the mountains, a 90-year-old man and a 32-year-old woman discovered something rare. Not excitement, not adventure, but quiet happiness. Sometimes life waits until the final chapter to introduce the most unexpected beginning.